UFC Vegas 91. This is no UFC 300, but after a week of no fights, I'm just happy to get a fight card. So let me know in the comments what bets you already have locked in. I'm happy to be back and be breaking down 13 fights, so let's get right into it. First fight of the night, we got Maheshate taking on Gabriel Benitez. Gabriel Benitez, a little bit of a tough run, but honestly, Maheshate as well. We'll start with Maheshate coming off that loss to Borshev. But honestly, if you're not going to take Borshev down, he's a pretty dangerous striker. The Rafa Garcia's loss, Rafa Garcia, while he isn't the most reliable guy, he's pretty skilled. Those aren't the worst losses of all time. On the Gabriel Benitez side, though, definitely been... Jim Miller will give you a little bit of a pass there, but, and David Onama is a dangerous guy for sure. Billy Q, at least, when you lose in the third round, that is kind of how he loses. But, Omar Morales, okay, Sadiq Youssef, again, I can give you a pass. But Enrique Barzola, Andre Fili head kicks you. If you lose to Andre Fili is one thing, but knocking you out, a little sketch. And then his wins, Justin James and Charlie Ontiveros. Humberto Bondanai. And Jason Knight before he got cut. To be fair, though, Maheshate, Steve Garcia, not the worst win of all time, but these guys, this card in general is covered in fighters who are coming off losses and, let's be honest, are fighting the bottom of the barrel. But one thing you can say about Maheshate is he's pretty durable, and that is the big difference here. Two strikers, Benitez, always talks about every time he fights. Dude's got nasty kicks. He still does. But there is an 11-year age gap here. Maheshate is the bigger, younger, fresher guy. He's going to be the more durable guy. Benitez has been finished a decent amount of times at this point of his career. I get some people wanting to put dog money on Benitez, but it's not enough plus money for me. I haven't liked the way he's been looking. I can give you a little bit of a pass for a couple of those losses, but, it's just at this point of his career against a bigger, younger, fresher guy who can take more punishment, I think hits harder as well. Maybe not with the kicks, but with the hands. I'm going to go with the younger guy, Maheshate, to land something at some point, probably finish Benitez. I'm going to say Maheshate gets him out of there. Second round TKO. I just think at this point, two strikers and he can take a little bit more punishment. Next up, we got a weird fight here. Ivana Petrovic taking on Liang. By the way, the betting-wise, the first fight probably just going to be a pass for me. This fight here, though, a little interesting. You have Ivana Petrovic coming off a loss of her own. Not the best performance, but, Luana Carolina, she's looked good in some of her fights. Still pretty low-level loss, but I'm talking low-level losses. Liang, not the absolute worst girls in the division, but, J.J. Aldrich finishing you in the second round. Silvana Juarez finishing you in the first. Look, when this girl loses, it's usually in the second round. Every single one of her wins is a finish. Every single one of those finishes is in the first round, I think, except one. I think she has one choke in the second round. Basically, if you've ever seen Liang fight, she's going to come out and go balls to the wall for about 3 minutes. She's either going to finish you or get finished. That's how every single one of her 26 fights have gone. So, if you're playing, I think Petrovic round 2, I think she's just a much more well-rounded girl. Liang, she just can get you out of there in the very beginning. She's a small girl at the division for sure. But she's pretty powerful for those first couple minutes. She can take you down and submit you, or even, find a shot because she just comes out and goes balls to the wall. I was looking at a couple props. I put a little sprinkle on Liang plus 1,000 round 1. It's plus 1,000, and it's how she's won every single one of her fights. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. I think Petrovic is the much better girl. But, plus 1,000 for the girl, 19 out of 19 of her, or 18 of her 19 wins. I'll take that. So, Liang's probably going to come out here, go balls to the wall, not get the finish, and get finished here in like the first minute of the second round. But, the props are going to be kind of interesting. Petrovic round 2 is only like plus 200 something. Probably won't do that just in case she finishes her in the first round, but someone's going to get finished here. I know it's women's MMA 125, but Liang probably will get finished around the 7-minute mark, 6-minute mark. We will move on to another fight, a short notice replacement here. James Liontop taking on Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla stepping in on short notice. Both these guys are pretty decently well-rounded. Liontop's 6 foot for the division. Definitely pretty tall. Not a huge guy, though. Doesn't have a ton of muscle mass. But Padilla, nothing to, blow your hair back. I'm posting the video like 12 hours later than I wanted to because I wanted to go watch a couple of his fights and see if I could put underdog money on him. He's a big underdog right now. Let's see what the odds are real quick. I don't want to do this too much, but, short notice. Yeah, he's plus 290 currently. You guys know me. Am I gonna bet James Liontop at minus 350 at making his UFC debut? No, I'm not. But he is the more well-rounded guy. He's the bigger guy. And, I think this fight will probably play out on the feet. Obviously, he's going to have the full training camp. Chris Padilla, he's coming in on like less than a week notice. So that's always a red flag. But, I'm sure these guys nowadays are, most of the time, they're staying ready. Especially these little Vegas cards. They know they can get pushed in as a replacement last second. But I do think James Liontop, you watch his tape, it's nothing spectacular, but, pretty well-rounded. Chris Padilla 6-6 in his last 12. He's dropping fights to some very sketchy, opponents. Lost to Devin Brock and Darren Smith. You go watch those fights, it's not pretty. Losing decisions to guys that are 6-4. He got submitted in the first round by Gabe Green. He got dominated by Christian Aguilera. It's low-level fights, man, and I do think James Liontop should win, but, at almost plus 300, it is a little tempting. It's hard. It's not somebody I want to typically put my money on, but I don't think either of these guys is really UFC level. I think James Liontop should win. I think it plays out on the feet for the most part, and he lands the better strikes. Probably, I would say goes to decision, but with it being a week's notice, he might get a TKO on this. But I'm going to go James Liontop, but if you're betting it, it's dog or pass for sure. Speaking of dog or pass, we got Ketlin Souza taking on Mann. Another big favorite. We got Ketlin Souza coming off, getting her knee absolutely destroyed. We had Karine Silva, a girl I'm pretty high on, absolutely dominated her with that knee, or not dominated her, but destroyed her knee in less than 2 minutes. Knee surgery. She's been off for about a year. A little bit of a red flag for sure, especially when you're a minus 350 favorite. I do think she's a better girl. Mann, she's tiny. She's 5 foot tall. Neither of these girls are huge, obviously, but she is small for the division. Not super impressed with what I've seen so far, man. These first couple fights, I'm going to be honest with you, we got to get through them because it is lower level fights. But, in these fights, you do want to look on the dog side if you're betting it. This is a girl who got kind of destroyed by Bruna Brazil, lost her UFC debut. She's not looking great. She needs to go out here and probably get a takedown, and I'm not loving what I've seen so far from her wrestling. So I don't know if I'm going to get to the window, but, she's almost a 3-1 dog. This is low-level, unranked women's MMA. Always tempting when you're going to give me plus 300, but, I haven't bet it yet. The line's probably going to get even crazier, so it's going to be tempting, but you can't lay minus 350 Ketlin Souza coming off a knee injury and a year layoff. You just cannot do that long term in this sport. But the pick is Ketlin Souza. if, maybe we'll see by my quick picks and bets video later in the week. I can get around to the window for Mann, but it'll be dog or pass for sure, man. That's a low-level fight. Speaking of low-level fights, we got a low-level heavyweight fight next, and this one's a little interesting at least. We got Dontel Mays, Cal Machado. Dontel Mays, a guy you never want to lay as a favorite, and there's a couple fights on this card that I feel like at least one that I beat the line on. Not insanely. Some people got a better line, but one that I missed, and I wish I would have got that big plus money on Machado. I see people saying Mays is going to go out here and take him down, but I also can see and agree with why this line has completely flipped, because Machado was a decent underdog. He's now the favorite. The line has been absolutely steamed on Machado, and I get it. When I was looking at the tape early in the week, I was tempted, but I didn't get around quick enough, and Machado does throw a lot more volume. Mays can be very low volume. He can find the finish, and sometimes, really it's that Josh Parisian fight. He looked like a D1 wrestler, and Machado has been taken down. His last fight, he got a loss to Mick Parkin, and that was via the takedowns because he was outlanding Parkin. But, I think Mays probably could get a takedown, but is he going to go out here and, grapple him as well as Mick Parkin? I'm not sure of that, because Dontel Mays is not a guy you can trust. Now, if you're betting him, you want to bet him as a plus money. So, I don't hate a plus money side on him now at this point, because, he is going to be the bigger guy. He's going to be probably the more dangerous guy on the feet. And he can mix in the takedowns potentially. He could. Not a huge fight IQ, so will he? I'm not sure. But, he might be able to go out here and get a couple takedowns. And if he does, he will look like the favorite. But if you got that big plus money on Machado early in the week, man, you did your job. I think that is the side. Overall, for me, man, this fight is a coin toss. I will lean Machado with the volume. But I can't, I would not be surprised if Mays goes out here and shoots a couple takedowns, because Machado's takedown defense looks pretty bad. But give me Machado to win a volume-based decision. That's right, I'm picking this heavyweight fight to go to decision. Obviously, someone could get bonked, but I think it goes. Next up, we got Austin Hubbard. As you can tell, I got a little bit of allergies acting up right now. The pollen is insane right now. But we got Austin Hubbard taking on Mikhail Figlak. And Hubbard coming back, went to the Ultimate Fighter, lost in the finale to, what's his name? Just fought, got absolutely wrestled. Kurt Holloway by Trey Ogden. But Austin Hubbard, typically when he loses, man, he's pretty well-rounded, but when he loses, it's the high-level grapplers. You look at his fights, he got, Kurt Holloway he doesn't have good wrestling, but he's got good jiu-jitsu. Caught him there. Vince Michelle, great grappler. Selecki, great grappler. Mark Madsen, great grappler. Davi Ramos, fantastic grappler. It's just high-level grapplers. And you go look at Figlak, and it's like, he's not a great grappler. He's not a great wrestler. This man had Faraz Zaim out there looking like, I don't even know. He was out there taking him down, out grappling him. Figlak is not a great grappler or wrestler. And, Hubbard, if you're going to tell me it's going to be on the feet, it's tempting to take the underdog here, because neither guy is a big finisher. I think this fight goes to decision. I'm going to be looking at that. I'm going to be looking at the goes the distance prop. I'm going to be looking at Hubbard as an underdog or Hubbard by decision. I want to let these props drop on more books. Take a look at them. But, look for me later on in the week to be going in that direction. Maybe Hubbard by decision. But I like the Hubbard side. I think I'm going to go with the underdog. I think he keeps it on the feet. I don't love Figlak striking. Both these guys are decently green, but I like Hubbard's experience at this point, especially UFC experience. And, I think this fight's going to play out on the feet, and I'm going to go with Hubbard to land some good volume. He's got a little bit of pop in his shots, not crazy power, but, if he's not having to worry about the takedown, I think he can open up with the hands. And I'm going to take Hubbard to win. I'm going to take this fight to go to decision, but I'm going to say Hubbard lands the better shots. And, might be betting that the overs or just Hubbard straight, but we move on to another big favorite, Victor Henry taking on Hani Yahya. Honey Yahya, apparently 39. I don't know if I buy it, but still pretty durable, still tough. Doesn't get finished a ton. Did get finished against Montel Jackson, but Montel Jackson is kind of a freak. He went the full distance with Ricky Simone. Hasn't been finished before then in a long time. How long? Wow. 2009, and it was Joseph Benavidez. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, not like he has taken a million fights between them, but, good amount of fights to be surviving. He is getting up there, though, so maybe he could turn Victor Henry into a finisher, but typically Victor is a decision guy. Look, we can keep it pretty short and sweet. I think Victor Henry wins the fight. He's going to throw a lot more. I do think he should be a pretty big favorite, but I think it should be like minus 300, minus 500 on a guy like Victor Henry. It wasn't long ago that he completely shit the bed as a big favorite against Rafael Assunção. So, I wouldn't be willing to lay that big minus money on Victor Henry. I don't think it's that, I think a big favorite is justified, but not to that extent. He's 36 himself, about to be 37. Actually, by the time, right after this fight. But, I think he's the much better striker. But would I be absolutely shocked if Yahya could find the sub? I wouldn't be. Victor Henry is super tough, and he's never been finished, I don't believe, right? I think all 6 of his losses are decision, but, if anybody could submit him, it'd be Yahya. I'm going to take Victor Henry to win the fight via decision. Another one going to decision. But, I might be looking at, like, Victor by decision. I want to look at what that is when it drops on more books. Or maybe just fight goes to decision. I don't know. I think that's close to even money when I look. So that might be the side right there. But I'm going to let that drop on more books. I'm going to keep looking. The pick is going to be Victor Henry by decision, though. Next up, we got Tim Means versus Eros Medic. Man, this is a pretty fun fight. I think the Dirty Bird's never in a lot of boring fights, man. A lot of people say he doesn't have a great chin, but when you look at it, he's typically getting finished by submission. Doesn't really get knocked out a ton. It was Nico Price, and I mean, honestly, you can say what you want about Nico Price, but he does have power. He does carry good amount of power, and man, I'm sorry, I absolutely have to blow. I'm sorry, that was just killing me. But Means, he has some power himself. He can finish you. Decent submissions. Decent power himself, and good striking. I actually have some connections to him. I've trained with some people who train with him for a long time from his gym. Just a super easy guy to root for, super cool guy, but, got to set that type of stuff aside. Medic is going to be super dangerous early, but typically, when Means is losing, he's getting knocked out. And, I mean, he's getting submitted, but, Medic's more of a knockout guy. He did submit a guy pretty recently. Am I really thinking about that Flowers fight? I thought he had a more recent one, but no. Couple triangles earlier in his career, but lately it's been all the knockouts. And comes from that Alaska FC, and I was born in Alaska, so I hate to shit on it, but the grappling out there isn't great. There's not a whole lot of high-level MMA in general. But, Medic is dangerous early. He tends to typically fall off. But, he did show a better gas tank in that, it was the Simmelsberger fight. And even the Morales fight, we've seen him slow down more earlier in his career. But it seems like he's working on that. He is obviously the younger guy, the more dangerous guy, at least, early on. But Means is always dangerous, even at 40. I do think Medic most likely gets the finish here, but, at this number, it starts to get a little tempting for Means. I was looking at Means plus 260. I'm looking at, maybe it's tough picking a prop because Means really could find a submission. He could, he does have a decent bit of submissions on his record, but, I am thinking that if you're betting this, it's got to be Means, man. I'm not trying to lay 3-1 on Medic. This is a winnable fight by Means here. So, I'm going to pick Medic here to win, but I think he should be like minus 180, minus 200. I don't think it should be this wide. I think this is a winnable fight here by Means. It's not somebody I typically want to bet at this point of his career, but, wouldn't be shocked if he squeezed this one out. So I'm going to be looking at this one as well. There's a couple underdogs where the lines are probably only going to get better. Like this one, Padilla, Mann. I know this is low-level underdogs, but, Hubbard even was getting better. So some underdogs I like. Hubbard I'm going to pick outright. I'm not going to pick Tim Means outright, but I will pick Medique. But if you're betting it, it's got to be dog or pass, man. Next up, we got Jonathan Pearce versus David Onama. This is probably one of my favorite fights on the card. It's probably my second favorite fight on the card. Jonathan Pearce, always fun to watch, man. That last fight was comedy. He told Brito, "Get up, boy. Do something." And then immediately, Brito does something, gets up, ninja chokes him. But you got to give it to him. He was wrestling Brito pretty easily before then. Oh, God, that shit was a meme, though. I'm sorry. But Onama has been wrestled. I could see Jonathan Pearce wrestle him. And, if Nate Landwehr can wrestle you, I mean, Nate is a dog, but his wrestling's not super high level. I think if he can take you down, Pearce can take you down. Pearce is a good grappler. But he has been clipped. He has been stopped. And Onama's dangerous, man. Onama's super dangerous, especially early. And I do think he's probably getting better. He has been somebody I've been kind of like, I'm not completely sold on this guy, especially after the Landwehr fight. But, bounce back on the Gabriel Santos fight, as he should. But, the Armfield win, that aged pretty good. I mean, Mason Jones is no slouch. These guys are both pretty good, man, honestly. But, the striking, it is kind of falls back to a striker versus grappler. But I do think, the grappling is probably wider than the striking is. I think Pearce can at least stay safe on the feet for the most part. Obviously, Onama has, knockout power. But, I think Pearce can get the takedowns here. And I think if a guy like Landwehr is doing that to you on top, I think Pearce can do even worse. I think Jonathan Pearce is going to get the takedowns, going to win this fight. A submission could definitely be on the table, but I'm actually thinking this fight goes the distance. I'm going to take Jonathan Pearce to win by decision. No bet for me yet, but, maybe a Pearce late. That could be a little sneaky prop, but, I want to see those props drop on more books, but I got Pearce probably by decision, but I could see a late finish. A late finish could definitely happen. Pretty much always live in a Pearce fight. But we move on to the 10th fight. We got Jonata Diniz taking on Austin Lane. Diniz coming over from kickboxing, fought some high-level guys over there. I see a lot of people saying, this is going to be a fraud check. And I get that. When I first, saw this booking, I'm like, okay, let's watch a couple Austin Lane fights because, not going to lie, I don't super remember him. Then I was like, oh, it's that guy who had the rematch with Justin Tafa, the rematch nobody asked for. But the problem is if they're giving Diniz a grappler or a guy with some wrestling, I would be looking at the underdog here. You guys know I'm not trying to lay, what is he now? Minus 250 on a debuting, kickboxer coming over here, especially at heavyweight. But, at the end of the day, Austin Lane is a striker, man. He doesn't have good wrestling. He's 36. I think the UFC knows what they're doing here. They're going to give him an older guy. I mean, 36 at heavyweight is plenty. He's got plenty of time. But, he's not a grappler. He's not a wrestler. He's probably not even going to try to wrestle. He's probably going to bang it out with this kickboxer. And Diniz has fought much better strikers, man. I know it's MMA. The range is different. Just the striking just different over here. But, I'm going to go with the better striker and what I think is going to be 15 minutes if it went that long on the feet. I don't think it goes that long. I think Diniz is going to catch him. I don't think Lane is going to grapple. And if he does, I don't really think if he can get a takedown, it would be good here. He's going to look like a favorite. But I'm going to go with the better striker and what I think is going to play out on the feet. So give me Diniz. I think he catched him in the first round. I think he knocks him out. I went back and watched a couple of his fights. I mean, the guy is and kickboxing, he's fought like some of the best. I mean, he's fought some absolute savages. Yeah, he lost, but he fought Rico Verhoeven. Now, yeah, that was 10 years ago, but That just shows like 10 years ago he was fighting the best of the best in kickboxing. He's still young. So, as long as he's not shot, which I have no reason to believe he is, I think the younger guy, the bigger, younger guy in it, well, maybe not bigger. I mean, he does weigh a little bit more, but we'll see what weight Austin Lane comes in here. But they're both big guys, but, younger guy, better striker. It's going to play out on the feet. He's got the heavier hands and the better overall technical striking. Give me Diniz, first round KO. We move on to Karine Silva taking on Ariana Lipski. I did miss the Machado line, and I didn't get this to the best it could be. Some people I respect have a much better line, but I did lock in Karine Silva plus 105 just before the line flipped to now she's the favorite. She was like plus 135 or something like that. I think it might even have been a plus 145 out there. So shout out to the people who got, a better line than me. I was a little late. I was enjoying that little bit of a break there. But, towards the end, right before 300, I wasn't looking into the next week, especially since we had a week off. I was chilling. I wish I would have got an even better line, but hey, now she's minus 155. And you guys know, I don't bet a lot of women's MMA unless it's a big underdog, but I really do, and I actually like Lipski here. Her striking's good, and I do think she's probably the overall better striker than Karine Silva, but I think the grappling discrepancy is a lot bigger, and this fight could play out on the feet, and if it does, it's probably going to be pretty close. I would even give the edge to Lipski, but especially at even slightly, even though basically even money plus 105. I like Karine Silva to be able to get this down. We've seen Ariana Lipski, and I do think she's getting better. She's young, but, obviously got knocked out by Priscilla Cachoeira. But more importantly, she got taken down and out-grappled and destroyed, off her back by Antonina Shevchenko and Montana De La Rosa. If those girls are taking you down and beating you up, and you lost to Molly McCann and Joanne Wood in 2019. I mean, okay, that's not the absolute worst, but the other three are worse. But, those are not good losses. And Karine Silva, I know she's still pretty green. She hasn't fought a lot of great girls. You're just getting knee-barred by a girl with 3 fights. That was 6 years ago. But, she's pretty green still. But, I think she's coming into her own. I think both these girls are. I think this is a pretty good fight, honestly. This is a solid fight. On the feet, I do give a slight advantage to Lipski. She's looking better and better. But I just like Karine Silva to be more well-rounded. I think she can stay safe on the feet, land some shots of her own, mix in the takedowns, the submissions live, the ground and pounds live. If Antonina Shevchenko and friggin' Montana De La Rosa can look like that on top of you, what's Karine Silva going to look like on top of you? If it was minus 155, this is probably about what I line it. I just think she should be the favorite. Not a huge favorite, but I think she should be minus 150, minus 160. So, give me Karine Silva. I'm going to say she gets on top, lands the ground and pound. I'm going to say she gets the submission in it. Is that Lipski's first time being submitted? Yeah, she's never been submitted. So maybe it's just a ground and pound. I wouldn't do a prop, but I'm leaning. I think the submission could be alive here. I think Karine Silva could find the sub, but I think she gets the takedowns most importantly and gets it done on the mat. Give me Karine Silva. At this point, maybe I'd lay off of it. If it gets even minus, 180, maybe you start thinking about an underdog. I do think Lipski's live on the feet, but give me Karine Silva plus 105. I'd lock that in. I know there's not a whole lot of bets so far for me. More than I'm looking for. I want to see the props drop. And there's some underdogs. I told y'all about some bets that I'm waiting on. And I still have one more that I'm about to start talking about. We got Ryan Spann minus 200. Against Bogdan Guskov. And, I do get it. Spann is a huge guy for the division. He's a freak athlete. Big, fast, strong. Good jiu-jitsu, good guillotine. Most of the time, he's training at Fortis MMA. It's a good gym. Lost to Anthony Smith. That was a close fight. Lost to Nikita Krylov. That's not the worst loss. Knocked out Dominic Reyes. That was weird. Kudalaba. And actually, it's early here. Beat Anthony Smith the first time they fought. He does a lot of submissions on his record, man. For a big, strong, powerful guy, he tends to find that guillotine. But, Guskov, I don't think Guskov's going to be putting his neck there. I don't think a lot of times Spann gets these guys shooting and then snatch their neck up. I don't think Guskov is looking to shoot. I think he's looking to knock Spann out. And Anthony Smith's twin here. Ryan Spann fought Anthony twice. Now he's fighting his twin. Bogdan, he came in against Pauga. Knocked him out. That is like the biggest step down after Volkan Oezdemir. And this decent step up off Pauga. Spann is dangerous. I do get why Spann is the favorite here. He's probably the more skilled guy pretty much everywhere. But, man, this division, a guy like Spann with his fight IQ, we've seen him finished. We've seen him, clipped before. I had to go with the underdog. Plus 180, Guskov. I just think, man, I would not be shocked if he knocks Spann out. I just think he's going to come forward. He's confident. He's going to throw hands. I know this is a step up, and Spann could snatch his neck. He could definitely clip Guskov as well, but, at plus 180 against a guy like Spann who just makes bonehead decisions all the time, and I don't think, I don't see Guskov really getting, shooting, putting his neck there to get snatched up. I think they're going to play out on the feet and bomb away, and I'm going to go with the plus 180 to find that kill shot. So give me Bogdan to find the shot. I think it happens in the first round or beginning of the second. Give me Bogdan, KO, knock Spann out. I know it is a step up, though, but I like the plus 180. We move on to the main event. We got Nicolau taking on Alex Perez. Perez coming off getting robbed by Muhammad Mokaev. My God. I get the fight was close, but Mokaev spent 13 minutes of the fight on his knees. They need to fix that damn rule. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I get it in certain situations, but it's ruining, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to go on a tangent, but it's a lot of times these Dagestani wrestlers, because they're cool to miss the takedown and just hang out on their knees, and in a real fight, you can't do that. A guy will just blast your head in, cave your head in with knees, and it's the end of the fight or your life if it's on the street. You cannot do that. And he spent the entire fight doing that against Perez. But you got to say, Perez defended the shots well. And, Nicolau might be stronger than Mokaev, but I don't think his wrestling is quite as good. So I think, this fight's going to play out on the feet. I even wouldn't be completely shocked if Perez hit a takedown, but he probably won't be looking to wrestle. I don't think this fight will have I think it's going to play out on the feet. Nicolau's going to have a power advantage, but I think Perez has the quicker hands, at least in combination. Nicolau's explosive, but I think Perez has the better, technical striking. And Nicolau, I know he's only been finished, maybe twice? No, all three. Wow, I forgot that he didn't get finished on the Ultimate Fighter. But, before Ultimate Fighter, he did get knocked out. But, Dustin Ortiz and Brandon Royval. Now, it is Royval, and when he beats you, it's by finish, and he's super dangerous. But, even in some of the fights he's won, we've seen Nicolau. He's been clipped, and, I don't think he has the best chin. I don't think he's the most durable guy. Perez thought of as a guy who's, not durable, but typically he's getting submitted. But I don't really see Nicolau, submitting him. I think, people would be shocked, but I wouldn't be shocked if Perez knocked Nicolau out. Perez doesn't have a ton of power, but I don't think Nicolau has a great chin. He's coming off a knockout loss. I get it. It is Royval. It's super dangerous for the division. But, I actually like the underdog here, man. I think Perez can stuff the takedowns. I think Nicolau, can Nicolau knock out anybody? Yeah, his one-punch power is up there for the division. And Perez can be hit. But I think Perez has the quicker combinations, the better striking. And I think he's going to play out on the feet. Nicolau can be, not only does he not have the best durability, but he doesn't have the best volume. He can be pretty low volume. I think Perez can just outpoint him. It's 5 rounds. Perez, pretty good gas tank. I think both these guys have a pretty solid gas tank. We've seen them both get tired, but I think they both can fight 5 rounds. And if it goes 5 rounds, I like Perez to land more shots, I think Nicolau needs to get a knockdown or something. I don't really see him, if it plays out on the feet for, 75% of this fight, I think Perez is going to just land more shots. So, give me the underdog here. I'm seeing him at plus 165 on some books. It looks like it's only going to get better, so I'm going to keep watching it. If it starts going down, I'll take that. I bet him at plus 150. I bet him lower than that. So I'm going to be betting Perez here as an underdog. I like him here. I think this fight is a lot closer to 50-50. I actually think Perez should be like minus 120, minus 130. So maybe, yeah. I get why he's not with the record, 3 straight losses, inactivity before the last loss. Believe me, I get it. Like, if I'm not saying he should, I'm saying, the way the styles plays out, I think Perez is the better guy, or maybe not better guy, but the better, the person who should win this fight. Better guy, you got to go with the guy who's, been winning more fights recently. Obviously beat Liontop, but we saw how close that fight was. Could have won either way. Tim Elliott, it's a good win. David Dvorak, solid win. Match now, yeah. And Brandon Royval, I'll give you a pass for that. Perez, super inactive, but, the record's kind of salty, but Figgy, even Formiga in 2020, like, that's not a terrible win. Pantoja, Makayev, I thought he won that fight. Lost to Benitez, it's like, yeah, he's got losses, but, it's good guys, and I really think Perez is kind of slept on, and, his record's a little salty, and I get he's inactive, and that does scare me, but, I actually think Nicolau, should be a little bit of an underdog here. So give me Alex Perez. I will end up betting him. I'm going to let that line settle and let it hit a couple more books. But, yeah, that's where I'm at so far. So let's go through all my picks. I got Perez. I'm going to take him, the knockout's on the table, but I'm going to take Perez to win by decision. I'm going to take Guskov to win by knockout. I'm going to take Karina Silva. I'm going to take her by... I gotta go. Yeah, I'm gonna take. All right, she gives Lipski her first submission loss. Give me Diniz first round KO. I'm gonna go Pearce decision. I'm gonna go Madik knockout. Victor Henry decision. Austin Hubbard decision. Cal Machado decision. Ketlin Souza decision. James Liontop knockout. Ivana Petrovic knockout, and Maheshate. I'm going to say, I could be a decision, but I'm going to go TKO. I'm actually going to go TKO. I think I said decision earlier, but I'm going to go TKO. Yeah, those are my picks, man. So far, I bet Karina Silva plus 105, Guskov plus 180, and I'm waiting on Perez. I will be betting that. I'm waiting on Hubbard. I'm 90% going to be betting that. I'm looking at potentially means. Maybe that Yahya fight goes to decision. Maybe the Hubbard fight goes to decision. Maybe a crazy underdog on like Mann or Padilla. Do I think they win? No, but that line is crazy. Liang, round 1, plus 1,000. A little sprinky sprink. That's kind of my thoughts so far on the card. I know it's a low-level card, but hey, we got fights. Sorry for my voice on this. I know I sound like shit. Hey, it is what it is. Bookie pack in full effect. We bounce back. Good luck. Win $1 million. Enjoy the fights. Let me know in the comments what bets you have. Like the video. Dislike the video. Tell me you hate me. But click the subscribe button. It helps out a lot.